every single piece of music is really just a B to a C. What the f does that mean? Hey everyone, this is Nick. Today I'm going to be talking to you about something that I like to call half-step voice leading. So if you've ever studied music theory or the harmonic style of 18th century European musicians, then you're probably familiar with something called a cadence. And if you're familiar with cadences, you're probably familiar with the authentic cadences, like the imperfect and the perfect authentic cadence. Basically all it is when you resolve from a 5 chord to a 1 chord. So for an example, that would be like G major resolving down to C. Now if we invert it to make the voice leading a little more clear, so when I say something like voice leading, what do I mean by that? Basically, voice leading is when you take one of the voices within your chord voicing and you resolve it in a specific way. When we have a G major to a C major, the notes in G major are G, B, and D. The B will resolve up to C, the G is going to stay the same, and the D is going to resolve up to E. So if we take a look at those intervals resolving, the B is resolving up by a half step. The G is staying the same, and the D is going up a whole step. Or the D can be going down a whole step to C. So that in the harmonic style of 18th century European musicians is defined as an authentic cadence. Now, whether it's imperfect or perfect, it depends on whether the root is on top. But that doesn't matter so much for today's topic. So you may be asking yourself, but wait, if Adam Neely said that all music doesn't revolve around 18th century European classical musicians, then why should we be thinking of it like this? Regardless of how we think of it, in all music we have some sort of half-step resolution in all chord progressions. This doesn't necessarily come from this style of music theory, but however, if we think in terms of a major scale, if I stop on this G note, you may be feeling like a pull, a tension to the root again. So if I stop at B, it's like a big tension that wants you to resolve to C. If we do the same thing, we stop at F. Since F is only a half step away from E, we feel the pull to go down to E. So half steps are the most tense intervals and they feel the most satisfying when you resolve them. Now let's take it one step further and let's compare all major chords to C and see how they could resolve. For the purpose of it, I'm going to be inverting some of the chords so that way you can really hear the half step resolutions. So we have C to D flat to C. In that case, everything resolves down a half step. The D flat goes down to C, the F goes down to E, and the A flat goes down to G. Now let's take C to D major. The F sharp is going to resolve up to G, then the D is going to resolve either down to C or up to E by a whole step, and the A is going to resolve down to G. But we still have that half step motion from the F sharp to G. Now let's take E flat. That one's not as common of a chord progression as the other ones, but the E goes down a half step to E flat and back up to E. The G is going to stay the same, and the C is going to go down to B flat and then back up to C. That's a whole step. Now let's take C to E. So this one's a bit more interesting because we have two very strong resolution points. The G is going to go up to G sharp and back down to G. The E actually stays the same, and the C goes from C, B, C. So technically what that means is in a chord progression, you can kind of substitute E major for G major. Let's keep going. From C to F, this is what might be called a plagal cadence. So the E goes up half step to F, the C goes up a whole step to A, and the C stays the same. Another popular progression is C, F major, F minor, back to C. Now when you do that, so we have the E going to F, and then we have the A going down to A flat to make it minor, and the A flat going down to G, the F going down to E, and the C staying the same. So we also have two half step resolutions. This is a very popular chord progression in a lot of Beatles songs. Another one we have is C to F sharp. So this one, the G goes down to F sharp and then back up. E goes either down a minor third to C sharp or up a whole step to F sharp. The C can go up a half step to C sharp. Then we have our progression C to G. So this is the one I first talked about. The G stays the same, the E goes to D and then back. The C goes twist to B and then back. Then we have C to A flat. This is also another interesting one. The G goes up to A flat and then back down to G. The E goes down to E flat and then up to E. And the C stays the same. So that means we can also use this one in place of a G major chord. So we're almost done. Then we have C to A, back to C. So the C goes up to the C sharp, the E stays the same, and then the G goes up to A. Then we have C to B flat. So the E goes up a half step to F, then the G goes up a minor third to B flat, or it can go down a whole step to F. And then the C either goes down a whole step to B flat or up a whole step to D. Then for our last one, we have C to B to C. So the F sharp goes up to G, the D sharp goes up to E, and the B goes up to C. So that's all the major triads resolving back to C. So what does this mean? In George Russell's belief, every single chord is major. In the Lydian chromatic concept, he talks about analyzing chords from a Lydian perspective rather than the typical major scale perspective. I don't really want to get too into it because to give it a brief explanation doesn't really give it justice. But basically, he argues that every single chord is major because modally, every single chord comes from a major parent scale. For example, if we have A minor, that comes from C major. If we have D minor, that comes from F major. If we play D minor, and we play an F Lydian scale, then it still sounds minor, but it's a part of the major scale. So with that being said, every single chord is major. Even if a chord is diminished or augmented, it still comes from some harmonic or melodic minor scale, which does contain a major scale. So with his logic, every chord is major. But that's not to say that his views on this were really simple. Definitely go check out the Lydian chromatic concept. Check out Ben Schwender's book, Organic Music Theory, where he breaks down the Lydian chromatic concept in such a way that's very easy to understand, and he actually worked with George Russell for years. I studied with him, highly recommend. So that's not to say that George Russell had this simple view, but every single chord is major, and every single major chord in relation to each other has a half step resolution in it somewhere. So what does that mean for you? What can you do with that information? Well, that means that when you're writing chord progressions, you're reharmonizing, you're composing, you're just creating chord progressions. Any single chord can work, and every single chord has some sort of half-step resolution that you could access and give it really strong voice leading. So if you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you have any questions about any of this. I'm making a lot more guitar-related videos, music-related videos, music theory, gear reviews, and all that kind of stuff. So I hope you've enjoyed this music theory lesson, and I hope to see you again soon. Thanks for watching.